Welcome back, listeners. We're diving into a classic today. It's E.M. Forster's A Room with a View.
Ah, Room with a View. A book that's, well, more than just a love story, really.
So much more. I mean, we've got these vivid landscapes, but Forster is using them to say something about society back then, right? Edwardian England.
Exactly. All those social rules and expectations. He's critiquing them, using the setting and the characters.
Okay, so right from the start, we're at the Pension Bertolini. Florence, Italy, but packed with English tourists.
And they are clinging to their Englishness, like desperately, even with all that Italian beauty around them.
It's like they brought their own invisible fences or something.
Yeah, and Miss Bartlett, she's the chaperone, the embodiment of it all, fixated on a south room with a view. Like, that's the answer to everything.
As if a different view could magically solve all life's problems.
Right, and then there's that carriage ride feel, Miss Bartlett, so determined to control the seating.
And it all goes to pieces.
Yeah.
Hilarious. Poor Mr. Eager.
But that chaos, it kind of mirrors the whole book, that upending of social order, clinging to those expectations. It only leads to trouble.
And speaking of clinging to expectations, Mr. Eager, his comment about the Emersons is priceless.
Oh, you mean a shoddy lady writer?
And a journalist who had murdered his wife in the sight of God. They should enter no villa at his introduction.
The snobbery is strong with that one. But that's the whole point Forster's making. Those artificial barriers, they're ridiculous.
Okay, but before we get too deep into the Emersons, we've got to talk about how Lucy and George first meet. A murder.
In the Piazza Signoria, no less. Talk about a memorable first encounter.
I mean, it's Lucy's first time seeing anything so raw, so real. Life isn't all tea parties and polite conversation.
And George, he doesn't shy away. Something tremendous has happened, he says. Gotta face it head on.
Such a contrast to Cecil, Lucy's fiancé back in England. Cecil avoids anything unpleasant.
Cecil's all about appearances, saying the right things, looking the part. Not so much about actual depth,
But George, he's different. Which brings us to that kiss. The violets, fiesole, so romantic.
Those violets, they're symbolic, though. They represent love, faithfulness, all the things Lucy's supposed to ignore.
Right. That kiss, it's like this sudden burst of freedom, this passion she's not supposed to have, and then bam, the storm.
Not just any storm, it reflects what's happening inside Lucy, the societal disapproval she knows is coming.
Forster's so good at using the setting to mirror the emotions. And Mr. Emerson, what does he say? You have parted two people who are happy.
Oof. So much foreshadowing in one sentence. Like meddling with love, bad idea. And clinging to social rules leads to unhappiness.
Okay, then we've got Cecil playing his little prank. He thinks he's so clever, helping the Emersons move to Sissy Villa.
Oh, the irony. He has no idea he's setting the stage for, well, everything.
Best laid plans and all that. Cecil's blindness to real connection is astounding.
He dismisses George as all that is bad in country life, totally missing the point.
And then England, second kiss, but this time it's different, intentional, defiant.
George is basically calling Lucy out, saying he's forming you, telling you what's charming, and you, of all women, listen to his voice instead of your own. Whoa. Powerful stuff. Have you ever felt that pressure, listener? To be someone else's idea of you?
I think we all have at some point. It's tough, trying to balance who you are with what others expect.
And it leads Lucy to break off the engagement. Big move. But then the lies start.
Trying to protect George, maintain appearances, she gets tangled up.
Caught between two worlds. What she wants and what everyone expects.
And that's where Mr. Beebs comes in. Quiet, observant. He sees more than most.
He's got wisdom to spare, too. Nothing worse than a muddle, he says.
He sees Lucy's muddle all right, and he nudges her ever so gently to face it.
So what does Lucy do? Runs away to Greece with the Miss Allens.
But Greece, it's not just a physical escape, it's symbolic, right? Intellectual freedom, personal freedom.
Shedding those societal constraints. But even in Greece, she can't escape the consequences of her choices. Because back in England, we've got a heartbroken George and a very worried Mr. Emerson.
And Mr. Emerson goes to Mr. Beebe, pleading with him, "Don't let her think my son is abominable."
That scene is so powerful. The depth of George's love and the pain caused by those societal barriers. It's heartbreaking.
So Lucy's torn. What will she choose? The expectations of her world or
the yearning of her heart, that pull towards something more, something real. This is where things get really interesting. It really is a turning point for Lucy, isn't it? This choice she has to make. And Forster, he doesn't make it easy on her. Or on us, the readers.
No, he doesn't. He shows just how strong those societal forces are. Like, even when you're trying to be independent, it's tough.
Exactly. And you see it in her relationships, right? Cecil on one side,
Yeah.
safe, predictable, but kind of bland.
He fits into her world perfectly. But is that enough?
He even says every moment of his life he's forming you. Like, it's this admission. Cecil sees her as a project, not a person.
A reflection of him, not herself.
Right. Then you've got George. This energy, passion. He's dangerous, but exciting. Everything Cecil isn't.
The total disruption. And Lucy's both drawn to it and terrified. I think we've all felt that pull, haven't we, listener? Between the safe choice and the wild card.
Oh, absolutely. And Forster, he gets that. He shows both sides, the comfort of what you know versus the thrill of the unknown.
And ultimately, it leads to that huge decision. The elopement. Lucy and George saying, forget the rules.
It's a big middle finger to society.
Right.
Choosing love, happiness, over what everyone expects. Bold moves.
Makes you think, though. What do we give up to fit in?
That's the question, isn't it? A life of quiet desperation, following the rules, or do you break free, even if it's scary?
Forster doesn't give us the answers. He just makes us ask the questions.
And he does it with humor, too. I mean, come on, Miss Lavish. I revel in shaking off the trammels of respectability.
She's a hoot. That breath of fresh air amidst all the stuffy tourists.
She's like a what if for Lucy, you know? What if she just said screw it to all the rules?
But even Miss Lavish, free spirit and all, she has to deal with the consequences. Relationships are messy, even when you're breaking the mold.
And that's where Forster shines. He gets the messiness. Life isn't all neat and tidy.
It's joy and sorrow, all mixed up, wins and losses.
And you learn from it all. You grow. You figure out who you are.
Even the ending of the book, there's this ambiguity. Lucy and George are back in Florence. They seem happy. But then Miss Bartlett.
Did she help them elope on purpose? Or was it just another one of her well-meaning blunders? We don't know for sure.
Forster leaves it open. Like he's saying, people are complicated. You can't always predict what they'll do or why.
And maybe that's the point. Life is messy. Accept it. Find the beauty in the unexpected.
So how about those life lessons then? I mean, this book was written ages ago, but it feels so relevant, you know? That search for who you are.
It's timeless. And A Room with a View gives us a roadmap almost for dealing with those pressures, those expectations, figuring out what matters.
We'll dive into all that after a quick break. It's amazing, right? A book from over 100 years ago, and it still feels so relevant. Like, the specifics might be different, but that core idea, finding your own way, even when society's pushing you in another direction, that's something we all deal with.
Forster really tapped into something universal, didn't he? And one of the biggest lessons here, I think, is you got to question the norms. Just because everyone's doing something or saying it's proper doesn't mean it's right for you. Lucy's a great example.
Yeah, at first she just accepts what's expected. Proper young lady, right? The whole courtship ritual, the arranged marriage. But then Italy happens. She meets the Emersons, and it's like this awakening. There's got to be more to life.
And it takes guts to even admit that, let alone act on it. To go against the grain the way she does, it's scary.
Definitely. She's unlearning everything she thought she knew. About herself, about the world. And it's not always pretty. I mean, look at all the lies she tells.
Trying to keep everyone happy, but ending up hurting herself and others in the process. It's a classic trap.
Right. Forster's showing us that being true to yourself, it means being honest. With everyone, but especially with yourself.
And that honesty comes from new experiences, too. Think about Lucy's trip to Italy. It totally changes her.
Opens her eyes, literally. She sees different ways of living, different values, and she starts questioning her own world. Her own society.
It gives her the courage to break free. Italy's like this symbol of liberation for her.
Totally. And it all comes back to trusting yourself, your gut. Lucy has these moments where she knows what's right deep down, but then she doubts, lets other people's opinions drown out her own inner voice.
We've all been there, haven't we? Trying to figure out, is this what I really want or just what everyone expects of me? It's a tough one.
Yeah, but Lucy's story shows us if you ignore that inner voice, it usually backfires. But if you listen to it, that's when you find real happiness.
Exactly. Believing in yourself, your own judgment. That's key.
So what can we take from all this? A Room with a View is old, but the lessons, they feel so fresh.
It's like a guidebook almost. For anyone trying to figure out who they are in a world that's constantly telling you who you should be, question the rules. Get out there, experience new things, and most importantly, trust your gut.
Beautifully put. This isn't just a love story or a historical novel. It's about something much bigger. that journey of self-discovery and the courage it takes to create your own room with a view. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, listeners. We'd love to hear your thoughts, what resonated with you, any aha moments. Share them in the comments.